in a sense, the baptism, the mikveh that we have, this is what it was, essentially, a mikveh, right? Any natural body of water can be a mikveh, can be a baptismal site. And actually, the site where we read here in Mark is the same site as where the Israelites crossed into the land of Israel when they first arrived from the wilderness. And it's where Elijah, at least this is the belief, that's where he stormed up into heaven. So this point, and we were there actually, we go every year on our pilgrimage, we go to that site. Today it's called Qasr al-Yahud, where the path that Yahud, and it's a word in Arabic, where the Jews crossed. So this is the opening, this is the gate that you transform. Now the water itself doesn't transform you, right? It's what you come with. First of all, you want to transform. Nobody's going to pull you over through the Jordan River. You have to want to cross. You know, you bring a horse to water, right, but you can't make him drink. So it's the same thing. They were brought there, but then they had to cross. Okay, so now let's look at the idea of who basically was the John the Baptist, because the book of Mark, the Gospel of Mark, decides to start there. Other Gospels, even the Synoptic Gospels, do not start there. One starts with the genealogy, one starts with other events, but the Gospel of Mark decides to begin with the baptismal site, which means it kind of erases the past. We don't really need to get involved too much in the journey from Egypt into the Holy Land. We start there. John the Baptist, probably, as Don said, and as probably Jesus at that time, was close to a Pharisee. And the Talmud talks about that too. In the few remaining parts that we still have about Jesus in the Talmud, it does speak about Jesus as a Pharisee, basically. Why? Because he had the same kind of attitude towards the old establishment, towards the tradition. Why? Because the tradition seemed to have corrupted itself somehow. Jerusalem and the temple do not provide anymore the spiritual nourishment or nurturing that we needed. So a Pharisee, essentially, the word Pharisee in Hebrew, parushim, means to retreat. They retreated. And not only retreated in their spirituality, in their theology maybe even, but they physically removed themselves from Jerusalem. You want to tell me that there were not enough places in Jerusalem that John the Baptist can ask people to baptize? And it tells us specifically the people came from Jerusalem and Judea to be baptized there, which means that this was deliberate. This was a deliberate act of removing themselves, retreating from Jerusalem to more simple, ancient, pure time. Their change, and this is very important to understand in this story in general, that when they reform, when they retreat from the tradition, what they essentially are saying, we're not here to change the tradition. On the contrary, we're here to bring it back to where it's supposed to be. So where it says here, clear the path for the Messiah, or for God, of course, for Judaism, the Messiah is a human being that will come in. But it doesn't matter. You're supposed to do something active to make way. And what it means is that you clean up. Because it's enough to clean up. Because the Garden of Eden, or where you want to reach that fountain of eternal life, is somewhere that we can reach. But it has been covered. It has been corrupted. And all we have to do, very difficult, and we'll get to that. But you have to clear the way, and once you clear the way, it'll show, it'll be there. But if you bring a Messiah, a king, you can't bring a king into a messy room, right? When you invite even a big rock star, comes to stay at a hotel, a few people clean up and adjust for them to stay. It's the same way. So the Messiah has his own work to do. But this is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about here is the harbinger, is the person that prepares for the Messiah to come. Why? Because the people have to be prepared. And what they really need to prepare is their mindset.